Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Thursday. I believe the Vegas Golden Knights are playing tonight too, by the way. I might be going to the game. I'm not so sure.
I think we should just play that music for 45 minutes straight.
No, I don't think.
We can start dancing and have a little party in here.
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
We can turn on maybe a movie from 1970, put on the TVs behind us.
I don't like your ideas today at all. It's not a good idea.
It's one of my better ideas, I think.
Well, you don't have a lot of good ideas, so the bar is low. The bar is low for you. So I guess by your standards of your ideas, that is a good idea.
I just think your comprehension skills are low, as well as your ability to think outside of the box, your imagination.
I have a really good imagination.
Your creativity.
I'm
all those things are low.
I'm imagining you making a good point on the show today. See, I have a very good imagination. I don't know what you're talking about, really, quite frankly. But coming up here in just a few minutes, we'll be speaking with Marc Lauder. He is the Trump 2020 Communications Director. Now, the reason why we're having him on, to give you a little bit of context, if you haven't already noticed, the last few days, Donald Trump is in town. He's staying at his Trump hotel. Was I supposed to disclose that? I don't know. He's at his Trump hotel. He's been in town for a few days. Air Force One touched down a few days ago. Now, he's leaving town here and there. He was in Phoenix, did a rally yesterday. But he is actually holding a huge rally at the convention center. And actually, Trump is speaking right now in Las Vegas as we talk at the Hope for Prisoners in Las Vegas. So he's speaking with them right now. He is in Las Vegas right now talking. But he has this huge rally that's going on Friday night. And as I mentioned, it's going to be at the Las Vegas Convention Center. And from what I understand, you're going to have to be there like 8 hours before he gets there in order to get into this thing. It is going to be jam-packed. He rolls them in. I'll give him credit for that. Whenever he has a rally anywhere in the country, and I mean anywhere, people flock and they show up.
Did you see the one in Phoenix yesterday?
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. It was certainly jam-packed.
What's the capacity of this convention center? Do you know? For this
I don't know. I don't know the exact capacity off the top of my head. But what I do know is that he gets people flocking in. So he's in town, and obviously this is all going on, and it's a strategy because, of course, he's going to be in town at the same time, the same week of the Nevada caucus for the Democrats. So he's trying to steal a little bit of their thunder, which I can understand. It's a strategy.
He's not trying to. He is. He's taking all of it. Especially after last night when he was actually, him and Joe Biden were the big winners last night in the debates, in my opinion.
True. So he's in town. He's going to be here. I would imagine he'll probably leave town either Friday night or Saturday. It's been a little while since he's been in town, actually.
Do you think he'll play golf here?
I have no idea. I don't have Donald Trump's schedule, so I don't know. I wonder what golf course he would play.
Well,
I would imagine.
Everyone accused him of always playing golf and spending the taxpayers' money doing that. So do you think he'll do it in Las Vegas? There's a lot of golf courses here.
I don't know where Donald Trump plays golf in Las Vegas. I would imagine he's probably played Shadow Creek before.
Probably.
But anyway, the guy joining us on the line right now, he is the 2020 Communications Director for Donald Trump. 2020, as I mentioned, he was previously a special assistant to the president and press secretary to Vice President Pence. Joining us right now on the line, Marc Lauder. Marc, I appreciate you taking some time to join us. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So, Marc, I guess I wanted to get your first reaction. Did you get a chance to watch the Democratic debate last night? What were your thoughts on the debate? What are the president's thoughts on the debate last night?
Well, I actually was. I was in Las Vegas last night with the president and actually left this morning, and I'm now driving through Pennsylvania. But I'll tell you, it was clear to me that the president won that debate last night because what you saw were the Democrats bickering like children in the back seat on a road trip through that entire thing. And I really am just dismayed by the fact that Democrats sat there for the most part of the night talking about the merits of socialism, taking away people's private health insurance, kicking millions of people off their jobs.
Right.
And this is a winning strategy for them.
Are you surprised, Marc, that Donald Trump wasn't brought up more in the debate? Because here they are, as you know, trying to defeat Donald Trump. And it appeared to me like you're right. They were just attacking one another. And it seems to me that's not a strategy that's going to defeat Donald Trump.
Well, right now, I think they're still in the process of trying to figure out what their party stands for. I mean, we know it's absolutely moved to the significant radical left, but how far do they want to go? And, it's really, I mean, the couple of things that really struck me was, A, Bloomberg should fire his advisors who prepared him, and that no amount of his money can buy him a clue.
You're right. Listen, you have no argument for me there. I thought the losers last night were Klobuchar and Bloomberg. Bloomberg, because you're right, he looked like he was not prepared. Klobuchar took a little bit of criticism, and she looked like she was convulsing. And I said that to start the show today. I thought those were the two losers. I thought Warren did a pretty decent job because she was on the attack. Would you agree with that?
I think that's what I think most people come out thinking, that she was, she did well. Obviously, Bernie is right now, he's treading water. He's the leader, so he's trying just not to mess it up right now. And really, I don't even know, was Biden even there? I mean, it was just kind of, he was like an afterthought, which is much like his campaign.
I think Biden is kind of doing what he can to say as little as possible considering what's happened in the last couple of months. Do you think that if Bernie Sanders ends up the Democratic nominee in 2020, that the Democratic Party is in danger of being replaced by the Socialist Party?
Well, I think it will become the Socialist Party. I mean, we have seen that steady march toward the radical left, and I'll tell you, everywhere I go, and again, I was in Vegas this morning, and I'm going to give a speech in Pittsburgh this afternoon. Every time someone recognizes what I do, people come up to me and say, "Look, they may be a Black American or a Latino or Hispanic or a member of a labor union, and they tell me, look, I've been a longtime Democrat, but I don't even recognize the Democrat Party anymore." And then they're like, I like what's going on with President Trump and this economy. It's going to be easy for me to go and vote in November.
I want to ask you a few things that I think it's fair to say were controversial, Mark, and you're the perfect first person to ask about these things. Let's start with Rush Limbaugh. Donald Trump giving Rush Limbaugh the Medal of Freedom Award. Now, as you know, Mark, you're a smart guy. Rush Limbaugh has said some very controversial things on his show. Some would say possibly racist, possibly misogynistic. He made fun of Michael J. Fox having Parkinson's. He calls the NBA the National Thug Association. And recently he made some homophobic comments, I think that's very fair to say, about Pete Buttigieg. So a lot of people would ask, of all the people you could have given an award to, why Rush Limbaugh? What would be your response to that?
Well, I think you can easily say that agree with him or disagree with him. Rush Limbaugh changed the face of radio. He also changed the face of talk radio. He made it into a very strong, powerful political tool for not only discussion, but also for obviously, in campaign seasons. And that's what these kinds of Lifetime Achievement Awards, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, they're honoring a lifetime of achievement. And in America, I've always believed that we can disagree with somebody wholeheartedly and still respect their opinion and their ability under the First Amendment to say it. And so I think Rush is absolutely fitting of that honor.
Well, listen, I don't disagree with you on that. I've been in radio forever, and the two people that I always talk about that are pioneers are Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern. I agree with everything you just said. The thing that I think some people are giving you, maybe Trump, a little bit of pullback on is the fact that, listen, if Barack Obama gave Howard Stern an award like that, I think there might be some pullback also. I don't think you're right. First Amendment right, you can say whatever you want.
Ellen DeGeneres was given the award. I think the only pullback is the fact that he was given the award at the State of the Union on that major platform.
Yeah. Well, listen, there are all different ways to get ratings, Mark. And like I said, I agree with what you just said, but and this is just my personal opinion, Mark, when you play a song like Rush Limbaugh played Barack the Magic Negro, when you do something like that, I think it's racist. It's blatantly racist. And I think there are ways to get ratings without being racist. Now, that's just my personal opinion, Mark. I'm sure you might disagree with that.
No, I started my career in radio and television, not ever achieving obviously Rush's status, but you always have to weigh the need to get ratings with how are you going to go about doing it. And each different radio host or show, much as yourselves, you make those determinations yourselves of what am I willing to say, what am I willing to do. I remember that the current vice president, Mike Pence, who I worked for, was a former radio talk show host.
Sure. Yep.
He called himself Rush Limbaugh Light on decaf.
Well, that is true. I forgot about that. Pence does have a background in radio. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Marc Lotter, nice enough to join us, 2020 Donald Trump Communications Director, and as he just mentioned, former press secretary to Vice President Pence. Let's talk about President Pence for a second here. We all know his stance on gay marriage.
Vice President Pence.
Vice President, I apologize. Did I say president?
You did say President Pence.
Don't do that.
I apologize. Yeah, he's going to stay the vice president.
Hey, Mark,
yeah.
that was a Freudian slip.
well, listen, there's things about Mike Pence that I appreciate, and then there's things that I just disagree with him on, policy being one of them. Does he think that one day we will ever have a gay president? Because I know in regards to Buttigieg, I know Donald Trump made some statements the other day, and he said he would have no problem voting one day for a gay president. I was actually happy to hear him say that, and it sounded to me he disagreed with Rush Limbaugh's stance on that. How has Mike Pence evolved at all on gay marriage? Has he stayed true to that? And what does he think about Pete Buttigieg and the fact that he could be running against Donald Trump as a gay man?
Well, I will tell you that the vice president was governor of Indiana while Pete Buttigieg was mayor of South Bend.
Sure.
And when he came out, and when he was deployed, and the vice president then as governor has had nothing but glowing things to say about Pete Buttigieg defending our country, coming out and defending his own beliefs, and has had nothing to say negatively about that. The vice president, and I will tell you, the vice president, in all the years that I have known him, has always said that he does not believe that anyone should be discriminated against by who they are, who they love, or what they believe, and that he believes that as much as someone has a right to live their personal lives the way they choose to do so, folks that have religious convictions that believe something different also have the right to believe that, and that's where he has always firmly stood.
Do you believe that there should be schools out there that do not allow homosexuals to work there or go to school there? What are your thoughts on that?
If they are religious institutions and faith-based institutions, then they should be able to conduct their work, their teachings, their ministry in accordance with their faith. That's why we have the freedom of religion in this country, and it's not the government's role to tell someone how they should believe. But also, I think the First Amendment gives people the same right to voice their disagreement with that and/or protest it.
Fair enough.
And I think it comes down to public versus private, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, you could make that. You can make that argument. Let's move back to Donald Trump, if I may. Now, you could tell me if you would disagree with this or not, Mark. But I've said if Donald Trump stayed off of Twitter, and if Donald Trump, didn't go after, say, Nancy Pelosi's dentures or make statements like that I think are inappropriate, he'd probably have an 80% approval rating. What are your thoughts on that? Do you wish Donald Trump would get off of Twitter? And again, Mark, I'm talking about the distasteful things he said about a woman's looks, in this case, Nancy Pelosi, comments like that I think are beneath the president. What do you say to that?
Well, the one thing I will tell you is that the president's social media platform has more people on it than who watch the Super Bowl every year, and of course that's the overwhelming number one thing that show on television every year. That's how many people the president can communicate to directly, and I believe one of the reasons why he was elected was because he actually shared what he's thinking with the American people. One of the untold stories of the 2016 election, I believe, is people were tired of being lied to. They had presidents who could give great speeches of both parties and would tell you from both parties that they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then when they got into office and they found out the job is hard, they just did the poll-tested, politically correct, perfect soundbite things, and nothing ever got done. And so I think the president being the president is something that attracts many people to him. I understand while some people don't always love all of the tweets and everything, but what I would say is look at the results, because we've had presidents who said great things and did nothing. I think I'll choose getting action over sometimes maybe not always saying things exactly how you would say it.
And that's a very valid point. I believe that, whereas Michael Bloomberg tried to buy himself into this election, Donald Trump marketed himself to be the president of the United States. Does Donald Trump actually make his own tweets? Does he handle all of his own social media, or does someone do that for him?
No, I mean, there are people that can sometimes do some of those things, but he also does it himself.
Fair enough. A couple more quick questions for you, Mark, and we really do appreciate your time. As you know, Donald Trump has a big rally Friday night here at the convention center. I'm sure it'll be a huge turnout. Also, a couple years ago, as you recall, October 1, we lost 59 people. And after that shooting, Trump talked about gun control. He talked about red flag laws. He talked about a lot of the things that Democrats, quite frankly, are talking about, and all we've accomplished since then. I mean, by the way, I'm not just blaming Donald Trump for this. I'm blaming Democrats as well. Barack Obama was president for 8 years. Not a lot of stuff was done. But there are a lot of bills that are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk right now. Nothing is being done. And again, I'm not putting all the responsibility on Donald Trump. But as you know, Mark, this is a huge issue across the country, and it's a huge issue in Las Vegas here. We had the biggest mass shooting in American history. Will Donald Trump mention that at all Friday night? And is there anything that he can do right now to get Mitch McConnell to get up and do something about it and to end the carnage when it comes to gun violence?
Well, two things. One, I would tell you that the president already took as much action as he could administratively by banning bump stocks shortly after the shooting there in Las Vegas. And when it comes to the other measures, the one thing I would say is that I think it's too easy to just say it's all on Mitch McConnell, because what the House Democrats and Nancy Pelosi have done are putting in a lot of poison pills. That's what it's called. Or they're putting a lot of things that will take away people's Second Amendment rights. It's something that has to be balanced. And until we have Congress, two chambers, two parties, president willing stop trying to seek perfection. Let's see what we can get done.
So you're saying it's not necessarily Mitch McConnell, but Democrats that are not being reasonable with some of these bills? I'm just trying to get what you're saying.
I'm saying that many of their proposals are just not going. They're not possible. They're not going to happen. So, is there an opportunity to work together with Republicans on meaningful legislation like red flag laws, which the president has talked about, like increasing and strengthening, which the president has also done, the background check system.
Right.
As we saw previously, there were holes in that system.
Yeah.
The president has tightened those holes. We've got to be able to do more.
Sure. No.
Mark, have you had any conversations, we'll call it behind the scenes, with Democrats, whether they're Congress people or senators who actually wish that a more bipartisan government was currently taking place, but publicly they're saying the opposite?
I am one never to talk about private conversations, even if they are with members of the opposite party. But what I would tell you is that what we have right now are we have elections that start the day after the the previous election, and everything is about the next ad, the next fundraiser, and that's true of both sides. And really, the only people that are going to take care of that are the voters when they say they've had enough and they want Congress to actually get together to do something. It's one of the reasons I saw a poll this morning that while the president's approval is at the highest point of his presidency, it's like less than 25% of people approve of Congress.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Mark, listen, you're a good guy. We appreciate you taking some time to join us and making the case. And I will say this. You got a pretty important job over there if you can put in a good word in the president's ear and say, Mr. President, we know this show called The Vegas Take in Las Vegas. They would love to have you on for 10 minutes, and we can talk golf with the president because I played college golf.
Mark, we could talk Pete Rose.
Yeah, we could talk about the Astros situation. Whatever.
Yeah, all those things.
Whatever the president wants to talk about it. If he doesn't want me to bring up gun control, I won't do that. But yeah, if there's any way down the road, Mark, we know the president's sort of a busy guy, but if down the road we can get him for 10 minutes, that would be a treat. That's for sure.
Well, absolutely, and I know it's great to have him in Vegas right now. Of course, I was there earlier this week, and I want to apologize because the one thing is true is that Donald Trump makes many things in America great again. Traffic is not one of them, except for him. So our apologies for all of those traffic delays.
Well, but correct me if I'm wrong, but Donald Trump is trying. He's trying to figure out a way to make traffic better for America.
That is true.
To make traffic great again, right?
That is true, right?
Yes.
Mark, safe travels on the roads. Have fun there in Pennsylvania, and look forward to hopefully catching up with you again soon, my friend. Thank you so much for your time.
I will be back. Thank you.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
thanks,
thanks
Mark.
a lot, Mark.
There you go. Marc Lauder. Good guy. I enjoyed that conversation with him. Trump 2020 communications director. Listen, he answered all my questions. I asked him questions that bother me the most, and that is sometimes the president says some things and does some things that I think are inappropriate. But he's saying action more than words, and that's not the first time I've heard that.
I thought it was very interesting that he alluded to, that there have been conversations. There are a lot of members of Democratic Congress who do want things to get done behind the scenes, but the majority of the party is so anti-Donald Trump, and it's preventing that from happening. I think that's happening a lot right now.
I am happy to have anybody from the Trump administration come on this show and be respectful and have a good debate, good discussion with them. I told him my grievances, and he answered them very eloquently, and I think he does a better job than Kellyanne Conway. I'll just leave it at that. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, it's time for Hate Mail. We'll get to that coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.